Hey, my name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video. This time we're going to be going over the cards for the new set MKM. I believe that's what it's called, the acronym. Oh yeah, MKM. I can't say the first word apparently. YouTube don't like that. But anyway, we're going to go color by color per video. Let's start with the white cards. First and foremost, I am going to hit what formats I think they might have leeway in it, but mainly focus on EDH and CEDH because those are the formats I play the most. Absolving Lamassu. Lamassu is 4 and a white for a 4/3 creature Lamassu. I don't think there's many other Lamassus. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's got flying, and when absolving Lamassu enters the battlefield, all suspected creatures are no longer suspected. When absolving Lamassu dies, you gain 3 life, and suspect up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. So not a bad card. It's a 5-drop for a 4/3. So what you're looking at here is removing the suspects. I don't think is going to do much. For those who don't know, suspecting a creature means that it has menace and can't block. So it's good for aggro decks, bad for control decks. So making an opponent's creature, it's a very interesting way to make it so that opponent's creatures can't, or like an offensive and defense effect. I want to hit you, let's give my stuff menace. I don't want you blocking, let's make it so your creature can't block. Interesting little way to do that. So with that in mind, I don't think this will see much play anywhere else. Maybe if there's a Lamassu commander at some point. Lamassu commander at some point, it might see fit to be in there. But as a 5-drop for a 4/3 with flying, I just think that's bad. You probably grab this in your pre-release set. It's decent there. It's going to drop, remove their menace so that they can't hurt you. So it can be a blocker. And then if they kill it, you're going to gain 3 life, which is going to plus you in a limited environment. And then you're also going to be able to freeze your opponent's or suspect another target when they die. So you can make your guy be able to hit someone, or make it so that they can't block you. So. And that's at instant speed, so if someone kills it in response to attacks before blockers are declared, you can target one of your creatures to give them menace, or target one of their creatures and make it not blockable. So that suspect thing, menace is going to be better if you have 1 creature and they have like 1 creature. No, I mean, I almost think unblockable. So, because if you're swinging with like 3 creatures, and they have 1 creature, you just want to make it so that they can't block. So target it, it can't block, they lose. Whereas if you gave one of your guy menace, the other 2 could be blocked. If they have 3 creatures and you have 1 creature, giving your guy menace is better because then they have to block with 2, meaning you could possibly, you'll select which one dies, so that's pretty good. Or kill 2, depending on the power. So I don't think this is going to see much play anywhere. Assemble the players is 1 and a white for an enchantment. You may look at the top card of your library any time. Once each turn, you may cast a creature spell with power 2 or less from the top of your library. This is going to see play in a lot of places. When you're looking at something like... what you're looking at here is a very intricate card that's like upside at almost all times. So being able to look at the top card of your library anytime isn't going to do you much good. But once each turn, being able to cast a creature with power 2 or less from the top of your library is great. This is going to see play in any commander deck that runs Lord of the Ground creatures. Same thing with, honestly, any format. If you're playing white weenies, this is going to be in there, even if it's not necessarily white weenies. Even like red, white, and modern could try tossing 2 of these in there. It's once per turn, so multiple of them aren't going to change that effect. It's just a global effect for you. But again, yeah, if you're running a lot of things with low power, this is going to be great. It also helps with the Hydra deck because Hydras are like usually 0/0, so you can cast that off the top because it's power 2 or less. So there's a lot of things. This is going to just see play in a lot of places. Anywhere where white weenie decks are played, or any commander deck that is looking for a way to push. I don't think it'll play any of the timeless formats like Legacy, Vintage, or CEDH, but I don't think it's bad. I quite like it. I like it for very different commanders. Next, we have this guy over here, Alara's Vindicator, 2/2 white for a 4/2 angel with flying, lifelink, and ward 2. Disguise, X3, and a white. When Alara's Vindicator is turned face up, exile up to X other target creatures from the battlefield. My cat break. From the battlefield or creature cards from the graveyard. When Alara's Vindicator leaves the battlefield, return all exiled cards to their owner's hands. Okay, so the way this is working is very interesting. Two things. Number one, I'm liking this removal style that white's getting, where you can target cards on the field and in the graveyard. It removes them for now. Once the problematic card is gone, or the card giving you that effect is gone, it's not only recursion for you, but it's also removal for your opponents, because now it's back in their hand, they're going to have to recast it. I like that concept. I think it's good. I hope they keep up with that. Talking about Disguise in this, Disguise is simple. You pay 3 to cast a creature, or cast the card face down, and it has ward 2. And then you can flip it for its Disguise effect. Cost. So X3 white here. So on turn, you can either play this for 2/2 white, getting yourself a nice 4/2 flying, lifelink, ward 2 creature. Very strong. That is like, this is Sarah Angel, guys, but like this again, yeah, this is definitely showing you like the upsides here. Hey, look, I gain life, I can't be blocked, and you can't target me. And I have another upside with the Disguise. Absolutely fantastic there. But yeah, with the Disguise, you just cast it for 3, so a turn early. And then the following turn, you, without ramp, like if you're just playing, you're not getting anything on flip. But on turn 5, you can flip it where X is 1. And then you can target one thing to remove it, or exile it from your graveyard and return it to your hand once it dies. But the further you go along, the better this is going to get. I like it. I think it's great. Angel decks will play it. This is just a decent white control card. I don't think it's like the best. I think it's too slow in Modern and Down. It'll probably see play at the top end, mid end of white decks, white plus decks in Standard, just because it does a lot. It's hard to target. It gives you a lot of stuff. It allows you to play it as a 3-drop if needed. The cool thing about Disguise again is that ward 2 on them, so that way you won't be able to stop them. Okay, you gotta leave me alone, kitty cat. I'm trying to make a video. So I think it'll see play in a lot of places. Maybe it'll hit Pioneer in like an Angel deck as the 4-drop. Auspicious Arrival is 1 and a white for an instant. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Investigate. It's not great. I mean, you investigate, so you make a clue, so you can draw, you buff something. I wouldn't really even run this in draft or pre-release, unless like I had a payoff for casting instants and sorceries. Even the fact that you make a clue, you'd need a good payoff to make the clue. Call a Surprise Witness is 1 and a white for a sorcery. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a flying counter on it. It's a spirit in addition to other types. This is just another good card. It's fine. If you're running white weenie cards, it's a great way to get it back. It also gives it flying, so that's decent. Play it a self-mill card deck. If you draw into this, you can you can get it back. Yeah, nothing great, nothing bad. I think it's just a upside, because instead of just recurring it for recurring. It also gains flying, so that's good. Case File Auditor is 2 and a white for a 1/4 human detective. When Case File Auditor enters the battlefield, and whenever you solve a case, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You reveal an enchantment card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast case spells. Okay, so this is going to really push the case ability. If there's a commander that likes cases, or if you want to run a case deck, Case File Auditor is great in the deck. It's going to give you more advantages for solving cases. It's going to make it easier to cast the cases. Everything around this is good. I think if cases become really good in Standard and Pioneer, you'll see this. I don't think enough cases are good for hitting Modern. Maybe 1 or 2, but I don't think good enough to make Case File worth it. But we'll get into some of the cases. They did give us a lot. A case of the Gateway Express. 1 and a white for a enchantment case. When this case enters the battlefield, choose target creature you don't control. Each creature you control deals 1 damage to that creature. Okay. To solve, 3 or more creatures attack this turn. That's not even just you. Your opponent can trigger that. And solved. Creatures you control get +1/+0. Okay. So yeah, when you're looking at Case of the Gateway Express, you're gonna get a lot of advantage here. It's removal. If you're running a lot of creatures, all of a sudden your creatures are gonna take out one of your opponent's creatures. Solving it shouldn't be too hard. Again, if you're running this card, you're probably running a lot of creatures, so you should be able to resolve that on your own. Instead, maybe even the turn you cast it. And then buffing your creatures by +1/+0 isn't great, but it's not bad, especially like in a token deck or in a white weenie deck. I could see this card being played in Standard. I don't think it'll make it way out of Standard other than into Commander decks. But I do like it in Standard because it comes down, if you've got one creature, maybe that creature, each creature you control deals 1 damage. So if it's got Death Touch, you're going to kill them off right away. Which is actually cool because the creature's dealing the damage. But regardless, if you play a 1-drop and then 2 1-drops the next turn, or like a 2-drop, and then you cast this, 2 damage, probably take out one of their smaller creatures they cast. And then you can swing with the 3 creatures. Like if you did a 1-drop and then 2 more 1-drops, or if it's like 1, 2, 2, and then you cast this, like you have 3 creatures. Like cast this when you have 3 creatures, you can solve it right away. Now your creatures are all of a sudden bigger, which is cool. Again, I don't think it's going to get past Standard, but I don't mind it. You can run 4 of them. The solved will stack, giving them +4/+0 at the end. You could solve all of them all at once, and that case will be removal. And the further on the game, the better it'll be. Case of the Pilfered Proof. 1 and a white for a enchantment case. Whenever a detective enters the battlefield under your control, and whenever a detective you control is turned face up, put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay, so this is going to buff your detectives. If you're running a detective deck, this is great. To solve, you control 3 or more detectives. That's super simple. You can just cast this once you have 3 or more detectives. Boom. And then if 1 or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus a clue token are created instead. So if you would make like 5 1/1 saplings, you also make 1 clue. But if you make 1 sapling, you also make, again, 1 clue. If you made 5 1/1 saplings, or you've made 1 1/1 sapling 5 times, you would then make 5 clues. That's not bad. We've seen that works with the food stuff, but clues are a little better than food, or actually I think significantly better because it's a draw instead of a life gain. So I think that's actually significantly better. And I actually really like this card. If you're playing a detective deck, it's useless unless you're playing a detective deck. So run a detective deck. I think they're really pushing that, and I like that they push that because you can definitely run a detective deck in Commander, or maybe even Standard with something like this, a mono white weenie detective deck that gives you a way to draw cards, making tokens. We'll see if anything comes with that. And the next one is another case here. Case of the Uneaten Feast. A white for an enchantment case. It's rare here. So whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain a life. That's already good. If that's all it said, those cards have seen play. We've seen the Soul Sisters see play. We've seen enchantments that do that see play. But this is going to do more. To solve, you've gained 5 or more life this turn. Okay. So you've cast 5 creatures, made 5 tokens, found some other way to gain life. Solved. Sacrifice this case. Creatures you control. A creature cards in your graveyard gain, you may cast this card from your graveyard until end of turn. That's actually really good. I like that. In a life gain deck in any format, again, I'm thinking Pioneer and down level wise, because I think anything else is going to be too fast. But like in a Pioneer life gain deck or a standard life gain deck or EDH, I gained 5 life. You can easily get to this, and then you can just hold on to the feast and sack it when you need to get your creatures back. It really deters people from board wiping. I could board wipe, but you'll just get all those creatures back. Great in an ETB deck, because you can sack it and get them. If you have multiple of these cases, you gain multiple life. So if you have like 2 cases, both of them are solved. Like case of the Uneaten Feast, when you activate the solved after someone like board wipes, you can recast all the creatures and gain the life in standard or Pioneer. And then yeah, Commander, I think this is fine. It's a great recursion and a great beginning spell. Turn 1 playing this, every creature, when a creature hits about under your control, so not your opponent's. But yeah, oh look, I gained life because my creatures are coming into the field. Oh, I gained 5 more life because I run slightly more extra life gain in this deck. That's perfect. I don't mind that. And then boom, you recast stuff. So I like it. I think this is a great card. Defenestrated Phantom is 4 and 2 white for a 4/3 creature spirit with flying and disguise 4 and a white. It's bad. You're not going to see this played anywhere. Maybe in pre-release if they're really looking for a big guy. Coming down turn 3 is a 2/2 with Ward 2, and then flipping it for 2 turns later for a 4/3 flying is fine, I guess. I wouldn't even run this in pre-release. It looks cool, give you that. First legendary, Delaney, Streetwise Lookout. This is 2 and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, Human Scout. Creatures you control with power 2 or less can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. And if an ability of a creature you control with power 2 or less triggers, that ability triggers an additional time. This is actually a really fun card. You're going to see it in any white weenie deck that has multiple low power creatures that have cool triggered abilities. That works with ETBs, because ETBs are triggered, which is great. And then it works with death triggers. It works with whenever triggers. So anything you're not activating. So if it doesn't have a mana cost or a tap effect. For the most part, there's some things that break that line. This card's great. I absolutely love this card for Alicia, who smiles at death. I got one of those decks. It's one of my favorite decks. This card can get back with it, and then it makes it harder to block stuff, and double triggers all the ETBs and death triggers and stuff that I get, which is great. So this card's super fun. I think it's unique. I think Commander decks on itself, you will see this as a Commander, because of the double triggers. We know that from Elish Norn. People run Elish Norn not because of I stop my opponents. Most people don't like running stuff that hurts their opponents like that on a regular basis, but they do like running stuff that doubles triggers because it makes decks fun. And every time there's a new power 2 or less creature that comes into Commander every set, they can be like, oh, that's got a cool ability. I can put it in my mono white deck. So I think this is such a unique and fun mono white deck. Commander. Other than that, I think you'll see play in any format where a power 2 or less creature runs rampant. Imagine this with Esper Sentinel. Double triggers on that. I cast something. Oh, you're going to pay 1 twice? I can pay the first one, but I can't pay the second one. That's great. Like, it's fantastic on that by itself. I can see that being something. Doorkeeper Thrall is 1 and a white for a 1/2 creature Thrall with flash, flying, and artifacts and creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. This is fantastic. It is another one of those that, like everyone's been saying about this set, it's a power creep, like through and through a huge power creep, because we've had cards just like this, but this one has flash, so you can do it against your opponents. I'm going to cast a creature again, response, Doorkeeper Thrall. You don't get the ability. Oh. Stop CTBs. Fantastic against in CEDH. This is fantastic against Thassa's Oracle decks. They go Thoracle, you go Flash in my Thrall. It's also only a 2-drop instead of a 3-drop like sometimes it was. So this is just perfect. Everything about this is great. Also a 1/2, so you don't have to worry about it dying as easily to what's his name? To the Bowman, Bow, yeah, the Orcus Bowman, yeah. So yeah, everything about this card's great. It'll see sideboard play in every single format as probably the go-to stop ETBs, because not only does it stop creatures, it stops artifacts. It has flash. It's a 1/2 flyer, so it can get in for some damage. This in CEDH it's flying, so it'll work great with Tymna. Yeah, this is just a fantastic card in every single format. You won't see it in EDH as much, other than CEDH or I guess probably high power and higher, because it's not nice. Due Diligence, 2 and a white for an enchantment aura, enchant creature. When dual diligence enters the battlefield, target creature you control other than enchanted creature gets +2/+2 against vigilance until turn. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance. I don't care. It's not a great card. I wouldn't really run it. I guess it's like a 4 extra power, and they can be blockers, so maybe in pre-release if you're like desperate. Essence of Antiquity is 3 and 2 white for a 1/10 artifact creature golem with disguise for 2 and a white. When Essence of Antiquity is turn face up, creatures you control gain hexproof until end of turn. Untap them. Okay, so disguise can be done at instant speed, which is interesting. So this is a great defensive card. It's a 1/10. So if they go to swing out, you can just flip this guy. Your stuff has hexproof. If they're going to go target something, you can flip this guy for 3. Great way to protect your stuff. You're untapping them, so someone could swing at you thinking that you're all wide open, and boom, Essence of Antiquity gets flipped up for 3, and you're like, I'm not dead. I don't think it's great anywhere. Maybe in a Golem deck in Commander. That's about it. Booty deck, it's a 1/10. That's not bad, but for 5, I guess for 3 and then 3, that's not bad either. I don't know. I don't love it. Combat tricks are kind of bad in Commander most of the time, so Forum Familiar. This is a kitty cat eating chicken leg, and I love that. 1 white for a 1/1 creature cat. Disguise 1 and a white. When it's turned face up, return another target permanent you control to its owner's hand, and put a 1/1 counter on Forum Familiar. It's not great. It's not bad. I mean, a 1/1 for 1 with no upside is fine. It's not great. Paying 3 to make this a 2/2 and then paying 2 to flip it and make it a 2/2, I think it's weak. I like the art. Griffknot Tracker. 3/2 for creature, 3 and a white for a 3/2 creature human detective with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. I don't care about this. Better ways to exile graveyards. 4 for a 3/2 with flying isn't great. I pass. Definitely just pass. Hazard Vigilante. 4 and a white for a 4/4 creature giant soldier. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control with power 2 or less. That's not awful. I don't like that it's a 5-drop. It's too expensive for what it's doing. At least it has something on ETB. It makes a 2-drop, a 3-drop, but you can't continue powering the 3-drops because they're a 2-power or 3-power, but then you can't continue putting the counters on it. So you have to have a bunch of tokens, and I think it's just a little too slow for what it's doing. I like the art. I think it looks great. Inside Source, 2 and a white for a 1/1 creature human citizen. When Inside Source enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. Pay 3 and tap it. Target detective you control gets +2/+0 and gains vigilance until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. This card is okay. For 3 mana, you're getting 3 power out there with 2 creatures. And then the following turn, you can pay 3 and make that 2/2 a 4/2 with vigilance. Again, maybe in a detective deck you'd run this, but I don't love it. I think it's a little slow and kind of awkward. If they kill the token, this does nothing. This effect does nothing unless, again, you're in a detective deck. And even then, the effect's not great. Karlov Watchdog is 3 and a white for a 3/2 dog, creature dog with vigilance. Permanents your opponent's control can't be earned face up during your turn. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn. It's a 4-drop, so I don't love it. Maybe sideboard and standard if face down cards become like a very big thing. That'll allow you to like quick flip the creatures. That'll prevent them from quick flipping the creatures and causing problems to you. But I don't think it'll be seeing play anywhere else, honestly. Crovid Haunch. I guess that's what this guy's eating, is a Crovid Haunch. It's 1 for an artifact food equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. You can pay 2 and tap it to sacrifice it to gain 3 life, just like a food. And then when it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1 and a white. If you do, create 2 1/1 white dog creature tokens. So, comes out at 1. You can equip it to someone for 2, giving them a little buff. Otherwise, the following turn, like, I guess on turn 4, you can sack it to gain 2 life and then get 2 1/1s. I think it does a lot. I wish I didn't have to pay the mana for getting the 2 1/1s, but maybe standard will see play in this. It does a lot, to be fair. Like, if you need that little extra damage, 3 mana to give something +2 can push you over the edge. You can use it to you can sack it if your opponent's attacking you, even if it's equipped, just to gain that little extra life so you don't die. And then if you have the mana, you can sack it for 2, gain the life, pay the 2, get the 2 dogs, block with the dogs. So there's a lot this can do standard-wise. Again, I don't think it'll make it outside of standard, but I think standard might be able to see that be used. Makeshift Binding. 2 and a white for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature and opponent's controls until Makeshift Binding leaves the battlefield. You gain 2 life. This is just Oblivion ring, but you also gain 2 life, so that's just an upside. Yeah, I mean, if you're running an Enchantress deck and you need enchantment removal, here's another one. I like that. They give us more because that just gives us more options for removal. Make your move. 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with power 4 or greater. That's not awful in standard. I think 3 is a little much for other formats. I also don't hate it in like casual EDH here, just being able to go that artifact or enchantment's a problem. Oh, they had a big creature. Now I can pop that. So it's 1 more, but it gives you an extra option, unlike disenchant. So like you figure it out. Like try it instead of your disenchant in your commander decks and see if you like it. Market Watch Phantom is 1 and a white for a 2/2 Spirit Detective. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, it gains flying. Cool. I mean, again, maybe standard will use it in a white weenie deck because a 2/2 for 2 isn't bad. A 2/2 for 2 with flying is pretty good. And if you're constantly casting your creatures, you can flip this guy. You can get this guy bigger. So that's not awful. I don't think it's great, though. Museum Night Watch is 3 and a white for a 3/2 Centaur Soldier. When it dies, you get a 2/2 white detective. And disguise 1 and a white. So you can cast this guy a turn early, and then flip it the following turn. And then when it dies, you get a 2/2. I think it's all slow. I like the replacement effects in standard and in pre-release because, I mean, turn 3 you play this card, they're not going to be able to kill it, they're not going to care to kill it. Then you can flip this guy and it's a 3/2, and even if you trade or if they decide to kill it because it's in the way, you get a 2/2. So killing it feels bad. I like these types of cards in my pre-release games. Neighborhood Guardian is 1 and a white for a 2/2 legendary creature, or sorry, not legendary, 2/2 creature unicorn. I love that. He's such a cool unicorn over there. Such a cool unicorn. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. Okay, so the cool thing here is like if you flood the field, with like tokens, like I'm gonna make 10 1/1s. Okay, spread the +1/+1s to whatever you want. So that's not bad. Again, maybe an aggressive deck could run this in standard. Like it comes down on turn 2, and then turn 3 you drop 3 1/1s that are all like 2 or less, and now you're buffing everything. Or Ornithopter would be fun with this card, though, to be fair. Like if you're running Ornithopters and you're like 0/0/0s, like this card in it would be bad. But this card in affinity decks. Oh look, all these like, well, not the big ones, but like the 0 drops, the mirrors and the just boom boom boom. They're all getting +1/+1. Make that Ornithopter huge and swing in. That's kind of funny, but it's not good. It's just funny. Not on my watch is 1 and a white, exile target attacking creature. This is fine in standard. I don't think it's going to see play much anywhere else. Or like mono white commander decks that need a way to get rid of a creature. Novice Inspector, 1 for a 1/2 human detective. When it's the battlefield, investigate. Yeah, we've had these guys. I think this is a reprint. I want to say she's a reprint. Is this the... No, it's just another one. No, actually, this is better. The other one I think was a 2-drop, wasn't it? I'll double check here in a sec. But yeah, I think she was a 2. Yeah, I just looked. It's the exact same thing as Thraben Inspector, except it's a human detective instead of a human soldier. So 1/2, just like it. That's cool. I love Thraben Inspector. I think this is going to be great in Standard, or any clue deck that you want to flicker. I also like it in a clue deck if clues are good enough. If there's enough payoff in like a clue deck for Pioneer, I think you could see something like that, and I think that'd be pretty cool. No Witness is 2 and 2 white for a sorcery. Each player who controls the most creatures investigates, then destroy all creatures. Okay, so if you have like if you and an opponent has 5 creatures, you both, and that's the most. Like if you're tied for the most, you both investigate, then you board wipe. Or if you have like 10 and they all have less, you investigate and board wipe. It gives you like some solace if you have to board wipe because they've got creatures that are like more problematic than yours, but you just have a bunch of tokens. It's a fine board wipe. 4-drop for a board wipe's great. Plus, there's an upside. It's just better Wrath of God, basically. On the job, 2 and 2 white for an instant. Creatures you control get +2/+1 until their turn. Investigate. I don't care. Yeah, this could be a payoff in something, but like you need to have such a good setup in Standard, and that's too much of a setup for this. And I don't think it's good enough in like any other format. Parameter Enforcer. 1 and a white for 1/1 human detective. Flying lifelink. Whenever another detective hits the battlefield you control, and whenever a detective you control is turn face up, Parameter gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Again, maybe detectives have something going on in Standard here. This is just a weak card. But in Standard, if you got enough detectives, flying lifelink, man, keep yourself alive. Go, whoa, boom, boom, boom. Detective. Here's some detectives. I mean, like, and enters. So, like, the one that, where were you? It's a citizen. Yeah, but it's not 2 detectives. I wish it was 2 detectives. Yeah. I don't know. It's probably not bad. And maybe some Standard deck if there's enough detectives that are good. Sanctuary Wall is 1 and a white for a 0/4 artifact creature wall with defender. 2 and a white tap target creature. You may put a stun counter on it. If you do, put a stun counter on the wall. I think it's weak. Maybe in a wall deck it'll be fine, Commander. But I'm gonna put a stun counter on your creature, but also my guy's stunned. Like, it's a way to get in, I guess, for 3. I don't know. I think it's weak. The Seasoned Consultant's 1 and a white for a 1/3 human detective. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, it gets +2/+0. I think that's weak too. Again, maybe in a white weenie Standard deck, like it becomes a 3/3 for 2. That's not bad. Maybe you're seeing something there. Maybe not. 10th District Hero is 1 and a white for a 2/3 creature human. 1 and a white. Collect evidence 2. 10th District Hero becomes a human detective with base power and toughness 4/4. It gains vigilance. To collect evidence, you exile cards from your graveyard with mana value of equal or greater. So, like, collect evidence 2, you exile like a 2 1-drops or a 2-drop or a 3-drop. It's fine. A 1 and a 4-drop is fine, you know. And then it becomes a 4/4 with vigilance. And then 2 and a white, collect evidence 4. If it is, if 10th District Hero is a detective, it becomes a legendary creature named Myleva the Stalwart. It has base power and toughness 5/5, and it gains other creatures you control have indestructible. I mean, you can't constantly repeat that like you can with the black one from Phyrexia. But I don't hate it. I mean, 2-drop this next turn if you can fill your graveyard up enough with instants and sorceries. Like, I think in a blue-white control deck, where you're like, oh, I counter you with my 2-drop counter. Oh, cool, let's transform this person, or not transform, let's evolve this person, I guess. I don't know what those effects are called. Let's advance this person to a 4/4 with vigilance. And then you're still controlling the field, and, oh, let's exile 2 of them. And now it's a 5/5, and all my creatures are indestructible. I'm going to board wipe you with No Witness and no witness, no witnesses. Yeah, no witnesses, and get a clue because I have more creatures, but all my stuff is indestructible except for hers, and then she dies, and then you're sad. But you know, it's not bad. I think it won't get past standard. Unyielding Gatekeeper is 1 and a white for a 3/2 Elephant Cleric with Disguise 1 and a white. When Unyielding Gatekeeper's turn face up, exile another target non-land permanent. If you control it, return it to the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, its controller creates a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. It's okay. It's not great. It's just okay. That's about all I'm giving you here. Like, it's a rare, sure. It's a 2 for a 3/2, which isn't bad. Disguise, you're going to wait a turn, play it for 3, then flip it, and either flicker something you've got, or remove something. I mean, it gives you a lot of options, which is, I think, is where they're going with rares. Like, a rare gives you options, and this gives you options, right? Turn 2, you get a 3/2. Or turn 3, you get a 2/2 with Ward 2, and you can flip it the following turn to either flicker something, giving yourself another ETB, or get rid of a problematic card on your opponent's side, and that option is good. So I think this is just one of the really good disguise cards. So if disguise becomes a useful ability, either in Commander disguise deck, or in Standard, or maybe even Pioneer, if disguise becomes good, like there's some payoffs for flipping your cards, I could see it possibly being useful. Wojak Investigator. 2 and a white for a 2/4 Angel Detective, Flying Vigilance. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you. I like this card for Commander. If you're not playing in blue, if you're low on cards, you get to investigate. If you're playing aggressively, I've got 2 cards. Everyone's got more. Let's make 3 clues. That's going to be very good payoff. I think you might see it in like aggressive Angels in Pioneer, because there is an Angel deck in Pioneer. There's a 3-drop for a 2/4 with Flight and Vigilance. Both are great in Pioneer. And then being able to just investigate because you have less cards in hand because you're playing them and your opponent isn't, you can like get more card advantage, which could be good. Wrench. 1 for a artifact clue equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance, and pay 3, tap target creature. Pay 2, sacrifice wrench, draw a card. Equip 2. It's fine. It's a clue reference. I get it because this is the clue set. I like it. I think it's fine. I wouldn't run it anywhere, to be fair. But again, it does do a lot. Either you're going to +1/+1 and give something vigilance, and it has the ability to then, I actually do want to tap a creature, so you can do that. And since they have vigilance, you put it on your creature. You swing with them. You can still pay 3, not like a blue-white control deck to stop your opponent from doing things. So I'm going to attack you. Actually, no, on combat, I'm going to tap your big creature. So now it can't attack me, and I can attack you later. And then, like, if you need to, you can sack it to draw a card. So it does a lot, so maybe standard, but that's about it. That's the white cards. I think they're fun. Probably one of the weaker colors. The best card in the set for white is probably up here. Probably Doorkeeper Thrall and Delaney are the 2 best white cards of the set. I'm going to say. A Symbol of Players isn't bad either, but I like these 2. I think they're great. So, even though they do not work with each other. Anyways, everyone have a great day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next color tomorrow. Peace.